they took us on a field trip to different places, and I saw Annie. That was my first show I've ever seen. And I was like, oh, it's on Broadway now. All of a sudden, now my eyes are wide open. I'm like, wow, I want to do this.
I'm Jimmy Bruce, president of Eastern Gateway Community College. We're proud to sponsor this thought-provoking interview series with community leaders who, through perseverance and determination, are being who they want to be and making a difference in the Mahoning Valley.
In 1988, you two wrote, directed, and starred in 429 Miles Off Broadway, and I guess you could say that started it all.
Yeah, that was it. That was the beginning.
So who were you guys then?
Well, who were we?
You want me to say who you were? You know, the very cool thing is that, the neatest thing is that Todd and I met at the Youngstown Playhouse, which was the place that I loved, and that's where I got my love for theater, and I started doing that when I was in like 6th grade, so I was very young. Todd didn't even know he could be in a play. He came to see a show called Brigadoon that I was one of the stars in, which is so ironic. Yeah. And he thought, well, this is pretty cool, but he didn't realize it was just local people doing it, and
so
felt like he could never do it.
So your families weren't theater oriented
not my
or
family.
the arts?
My mother was a singer, trained singer, and I grew up in a big, huge family, so we were always, you know, like the Lennon sisters or whatever, trying to do shows. But so we loved theater. My grandmother loved musical theater, and I knew South Pacific, you know, Music Man. She brought me to every movie back in the day to see these shows, and I would sing and get up and do happy talk for people when I was little tiny. And I'm still teaching kids that today, which is just so beautiful. And my family, I used to do shows in the garage, and my sister will laugh because I always played the man roles. And my sister Colleen, who really had very little talent, got to be like Maria. And she got to do all the great parts.
She might see this, you know. I
want her to see it. She knows.
Now the truth comes out.
But then we had a nice big family, so I could make them all be parts. And I kind of was a director in those days. Well, then Todd finally realized.
Well, you know, I didn't know that there was the Youngstown Playhouse. I didn't know anything about that. But at the same time, when I was young and in grade school, I was doing like puppet shows and stuff on my bus and everything. And I would do them in my cellar. And I remember someone came up to me, and I totally forgot about it. But I mean, you know, someone came to the Christmas show, I think last year, and said, Todd, you know, I remember coming to your puppet shows in your cellar, and you would charge $0.25 to get in. So I guess I was always a producer.
You always had that.
So, but again, I've always wanted to I was always drawn to that, and I always kind of like the movies and TV and all that stuff, but I didn't know anything about live theater until
when?
Like I said, the field trip of a school brought me to the Playhouse. I was in the Boardman band before they kicked me out because I was just kind of holding the trumpet rather than actually playing it. I was a good actor back then too. But I wanted to be in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, so I went, you know, into the Boardman band, and they took us on a field trip to different places, and I saw Annie. That was my first show I've ever seen. And I was like, oh, it's on Broadway now. All of a sudden, now my eyes are wide open. I'm like, wow, I want to do this. This looks really fun. But I was like 15 or 16 years old before I even like the light bulb.
And his teacher at Boardman, a wonderful man, Bill Dykins, really told him, Todd, you need to do this. And that's, you know, we can be one of those people now. And when I think of Mr. Dykins just grasping him, no matter how bad he was, and said, kid, you got this. You can do it. You know what I mean? Like you said.
Well, he actually,
kid.
and Bill, you get to know him, you know, because he even said to me, he goes, you know, I never tell people to go into theater because you know that, you know, 99% of the people don't make it. You know, you're starving, you're a starving actor. I mean, it's all true. You know, you sit there and you wait tables until you get your big break. And he goes, I don't tell anybody to go into theater. He goes, but Todd, in your case, I don't see you becoming a brain surgeon. Maybe you should go into it.
So you guys packed up at what age and headed to LA?
We knew some people out in Los Angeles that we knew that we could like kind of freeload off of, basically. And I said, you know, let's go out there. New York is kind of tough in the summer. It's hot, you know. It's New York. I mean, it's, you know, but I thought, you know, well, let's go out to LA. They're probably casting for soap operas and things like that. Maybe I'll get a lucky break or a movie or something like that. And so we went out for the summer, and which ended up turning into like 3 years.
Anybody ever say when you were out there you look like Kevin Bacon?
Well, that was the problem. That's when I ended up leaving.
That was he was the problem.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
good.
actually, when we first moved out there, that was when he got huge. That summer, when we moved out there, Footloose came out. So I walked out there and, walked right into Kevin Bacon mania. And I would show up, and I even admitted it because I could see that. I mean, I'm sitting at the bus stop and there's Kevin Bacon like right next
behind him, on posters.
And I would have, like, when we would go to like Disney World or something like, or Disneyland out there, Magic Mountain, I had this, like, these girls follow me around. They all thought
They thought you were.
Yeah. I mean, there was just like this.
Were you laughing at him this whole time?
Oh,
think I called him Kevin.
Come here. I'm like, just to drive me crazy, So yeah. So
I felt for him because he was so talented in a different way. And then we'd go in the minute they say, "Oh, you're like," you know what I mean? That's just something it's not.
Yeah.
Not a good thing.
I said I should write a movie on, like you go out there, you
Being
want to get
Kevin
your big break.
Bacon.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
all of a sudden, someone gets famous that looks like you right before you get your chance. And so I said, yeah, I know I should. and I think he even knows about me. So at some party he was at, someone mentioned it. He goes, "Oh yeah, I heard about this guy that looks like me who wants to play my evil twin or something like that." I said, "Yeah." I said, "That's about the only role I'll get in the movies now is be Kevin's brother."
So what was that mindset then? It's time to go home.
I kind of thought that movie kind of career for me was okay. Well, I'll have to wait, see if this Kevin Bacon like pans out, or,
Because out there really wasn't theater.
Or if he's going to fizzle.
Right, just a flash in
Yeah.
the pan. So, but I figured, but I really enjoyed the live entertainment. That was kind of my niche. I wanted to do a show to show Youngstown. Not only these shows that have never been done here before, and maybe shows that were unheard of or whatever, but put them all together in a show and just give people like a potpourri of these shows, and that would be the show. And we said, I'm going to call it 429 Miles Off Broadway. We opened it up, and it was a big hit. But the big hit within the hit show was Pump Boys and Dinettes, because we did like 5 or 6 songs from that show. And
Todd and I were fortunate enough out in LA, and during that time, one of the guys we met ended up getting in a great production of Pump Boys and Dinettes, where he was like a swing person. So if he got in that night, he'd call us, "Oh, I got tickets for you." We got to see it a couple times, and oh my gosh, we loved the show. And he kept saying, "This is so Youngstown."
Yeah.
I mean, people in Youngstown would eat it up just because of the down home kind of fun thing. Nobody knew what it was.
And it was a brand new musical, and Pump Boys and Dinettes. I remember people calling us when we opened it. It's like, "What is this, Pump Boys and Dinettes?"
Was it ever on Broadway?
Yeah, it was on Broadway
okay.
briefly. It ran in Youngstown longer than it ran on Broadway. What we proved on a small scale in the Uptown was that, one, you don't have to just run a show for 3 or 4 weeks or 2 weeks. I wanted to see how long a show could run. We proved that you can run a show. If you got a good show, you can run it just like in New York. It'll run and run and run and run. But also, you can do a professional level show with scenery, costumes, like Will Rogers Follies. Just, if you put the money behind it, the lighting, the sound, the thing, places like Powers Auditorium. I put our people in town, the dancers, the singers, the performers, the musicians, they're all as good as New York. It's just, what most thing was lacking here in Youngstown was that the production side of it, or the imagination, like, well, should we put that much money behind
belief.
it? Should we, to really just, roll the dice and say, we want it, we're going to.
He's the dice roller.
Yeah, that is my.
He's the risk taker.
I'm like, no, he is.
So I've always thought, that if you build it, they will come, kind of thing. And so I always thought, well, I want it to be the best. I want it to be as good as New York, but we got to keep the prices down. So there's always those decisions you have to make when you're trucking in a set from New York or costumes from California or whatever. There is a ceiling to the amount of money you make, and that's why Maureen and I aren't rich people.
I'm Jimmy Bruce, president of Eastern Gateway Community College. We're proud to sponsor this thought-provoking interview series with community leaders who, through perseverance and determination, are being who they want to be and making a difference in the Mahoning Valley.